Fugitives Shepherd Bushiri and his wife Mary each have 5 Malawian passports as well as permanent residency status in South Africa that appears to have been granted irregularly, we're told. Now, this is the information given by Home Affairs Minister Dr. Motsoaledi to the Portfolio Committee on Home Affairs yesterday when he was questioned about how the couple managed to flee the country after being granted bail. Motsoaledi conceded that South Africa's borders are extremely porous and that the Bushiris should never have been granted bail. It now appears that, in fact, the couple have been moving in and out of South Africa irregularly and undetected for the past 7 years. For more on how we got here and perhaps the way forward, let's bring in Home Affairs Minister Dr. Motsoaledi. Minister, thanks very much for availing yourself at this incredibly busy time. Great to have you on the AM report. So you've been quoted many times, speaking out against the bail that the Bushiris have gotten, being at pains to explain how porous our borders are and how worried that you would be in the event that the Bushiris, in fact, would be granted bail. That then raises the question about what alerts you tried to intensify after hearing that the Bushiris, in fact, have been granted bail in order to try and circumvent the situation we find ourselves in now.
Ayanda, you have got competition. I'm hearing double voices. You answer somebody and they are speaking against other. I picked up a few of the things you were saying. Somebody's making noise behind you.
All right. That might be some of our wires being crossed, and our colleagues will try to get that sorted out. I'm hoping you were able to get the thrust of my question. Am I clearer to you now?
Well, you said something about porous borders and about Bushiris moving in and out undetected, didn't you?
I did indeed. And my question then becomes, we always knew that the borders were porous. We were worried about how the Bushiris got here. So when you found out that the Bushiris, in fact, have been granted bail, what did you do to try and raise the alerts to try and prevent a situation that we find ourselves in now?
Well, let me correct the first thing. The Bushiris never moved in and out of South Africa undetected. Their movements in and out of South Africa were detected because they were using Malawian passports, which we have got no reason to believe are not authentic. Coming to the porous borders, I was not at pains to mention the issue of porous borders. It has been known even long before I arrived in Home Affairs, and that's why the Border Management Authority, a decision to establish a Border Management Authority to manage the borders was taken 10 years ago. And for the past 10 years, Parliament has been working on a bill which was only passed in March, just before Parliament rose for COVID-19. So this is a long-standing issue which has been well known for about a decade. And the Border Management Authority bill has been passed. We are busy putting together the means to establish a Border Management Authority to manage the borders.
Minister, how sure can you be that the Bushiris have been in and out of the country detected when we have an instance now where they've managed to leave undetected? Can you say without any doubt that you are able to account for every moment the Bushiris have entered and left the country, even in the past?
Well, even if they moved in the past undetected, I would know if they were using something else. I'm talking
yes, and that's my point. That's the point I was trying to make. We actually aren't able to say for sure that we've been able to detect the Bushiris' movements in and out the country for the past several years, considering the situation we're faced with at the moment.
Well, for the past 7 years of their first entry into the country, we can account for that. If during that time or before that they slipped in using other clandestine means, there's no way of knowing. I'm talking about the normal border gates which people use when they come in and out of South Africa. On our movement control system, we know exactly how many times they moved in and out using these 5 passports. That's how we came to know that they've got 5 passports. It's because they are registered on our movement control system when they move in and out. And we are able to establish that the last time they ever used a border, officially that is, because I can't account for the official ones, I wouldn't know. Officially was on the 19th of January 2019, when they were entering South Africa through OR Tambo. That was the last time they moved in through the passports that we know.
Okay.
Any other clandestine means, of course, I wouldn't know.
Yeah, so I think you and I both agree on that score. So 10 passports between the pair. raises a few questions, but we've also been able to ascertain at Newsroom Africa that the Bushiris, or at least Shepherd Bushiri himself, has a diplomatic passport. Are you aware on what grounds a diplomatic passport will be issued to an individual like Shepherd Bushiri?
Look, diplomatic passports are issued by countries.
Yes.
They are not issued by us. What I mean is diplomatic countries of people who are not our citizens. Bushiri is not a South African citizen. He's on a Malawian passport. It is up to the Malawians who they give their diplomatic passport to. Here in South Africa, we issue diplomatic passport only if we have got a letter from DECO. DECO must write us a letter about a particular individual who must get a diplomatic passport, and you issue it. You may remember, Ayanda, that the Guptas did get a diplomatic passport in Lesotho, and it was none of our business. It was Lesotho's business when they gave them. So countries decide who they give their diplomatic passport to, and when they do so, other countries do not matter in that regard.
Okay, but there's obviously an interest in Shepherd Bushiri and the ways through which he can move in and out of the country. In your investigations, you haven't bothered to ask how Shepherd Bushiri might have gotten this passport, considering this is the very passport he could have possibly used to leave the country.
No, it doesn't necessarily mean if you have got diplomatic passport, you can just use it to leave the country unofficially. A diplomatic passport is like any other passport. The law in South Africa says you may not go through a border gate, whether an airport or a seaport or land, without a passport, whether that passport is diplomatic or not. The difference between a diplomatic passport and that one is that you are given some form of dignity. For instance, if you go to airports, you may be taken to the diplomatic lounge. There's a special diplomatic lounge, but it doesn't mean that passports are not checked there. I've gone through many diplomatic lounges all over the world, but you are checked. You are checked like any other person to make sure that there is no trouble.
So the fact that the Bushiris had a diplomatic passport, Minister, didn't pique your interest at all? I mean, you didn't ask on what circumstances or grounds the Bushiris might get something like a diplomatic passport, again, considering the channels this opens outside of the other passports that they have?
Look, we discovered now about the diplomatic passport of Bushiri. As I'm telling you, the passports of Bushiri were issued by Malawi. So we discovered when we checked through the movement control system that he does have a passport which we think is diplomatic. We are thinking so, by the way. We have not yet been confirmed because Bushiri has got diplomatic passport, all of them preceded by the letter MA. There is one we have discovered now which is preceded by the letter MD. We believe that is the one that is a diplomatic passport. We are in the process of finding out. That story that there's a diplomatic passport, we heard it all over the media. We haven't yet confirmed it officially with their government.
All right. Given that, since you've already touched on the communication between the South African government and perhaps your counterparts in Malawi, what information have you been able to share with, let me say, your Home Affairs counterparts in Malawi? Because, again, when the Malawian government spoke to us at the time, they'd actually signaled that there'd been no formal communication from any representatives from South Africa, and so they're not quite sure really how to proceed, even with things like the extradition process. So what conversations have you had that you're able to share with us now about, ascertaining exactly how the Bushiris left the country and how they arrived in Malawi?
That communication is not to be done by Home Affairs. That communication on issues of extradition and diplomacy and all that are done by two departments. It's DERCO and the Ministry of Justice and Correctional Services. And as I know, the Ministry of Justice and Correctional Services have come out even openly to say they are still busy with that process of communicating with Malawi, firstly asking for extradition and starting a discussion about extradition. So it's not a Home Affairs issue. It's a DERCO because it's about diplomacy, but it's also justice because it's about law, especially the international law on extradition, and it's also police in terms of Interpol. So Home Affairs at that score has not got involved.
Okay. And, of course, what this has also raised are renewed fears that if someone as prominent as Shepherd Bushiri is able to leave the country undetected, how many other people do so on a regular basis? In fact, some MPs yesterday went and took it a step further and suggested that our system is broken. To what extent would you agree with that sentiment?
Well, Ayanda, the person who raises that our asylum system is broken is one MP. She has always done that at every single available opportunity. The issue here which we have acceded to is an issue of porous borders. And as I'm saying, that has not come out because of Bushiri. It has always been there. And I've just told you that for the past 10 years, government and parliament has been dealing with this issue in the form of establishing a special authority to do the borders. Until that time, such time that it has been implemented, there will always be a problem. There will always be a problem of people going in and out of the borders illegally. And that's why we call them porous. And that's why, Ayanda, when we heard that Bushiri was on bail, we provided information to the police who were opposing bail to the effect that we think is a flight risk. Number one, because we do have porous borders, yes. And number two, because all the documents that Bushiri applied for in South Africa, not his passports, but the document given to us, like his permanent residence, business, what, all of them have been fraudulent. They've been obtained in a way that is not regular. So we regarded him as a dishonest person who can do something illegal at any one time. And we believe such a person belongs to jail, because when you move him out of jail, he's going to try any means to leave the country.
Okay, but what I'm asking you, Minister, and let's be fair, whether this MP has raised this several times is neither here nor there. The question now is, does this MP have a point? And I'm asking this because on top of the Bushiris actually being able to leave undetected, you yourself have conceded that things like their permanent residency have raised questions over the years. They've been able to conduct businesses in the country without a business visa. How are things like that able to take place from as far back as 2014, according to your own admission? And then we still want to obfuscate the question around whether or not perhaps we need to reckon with the fact that our system is broken. It's not working the way it should.
I am saying, Ayanda, in as far as the porous borders are concerned, we've conceded to that, and it has been conceded to 10 years ago.
Yes, okay, but that's just the one issue. The porous borders is the one issue, and I think we all agree on that. How were the Bushiris able to conduct businesses from 2014 without a business visa, Minister?
Well, Bushiris came into South Africa via a visitor's visa. Now, Ayanda, when you are on a visitor's visa, you are allowed to register businesses with CIPD, because it's the rules in the Department of Trade and Industry, not in Home Affairs. We don't issue business. We don't issue people with a means to register businesses. That's not forbidden. But once you have registered your business, your company, if you start business, you must apply for a business visa. If you don't do so, that is illegal. Now, there was no integration between Home Affairs and DTI businesses. Since that time, the law, by the way, has been changed to make sure that before any person conduct any business after registering it, DTI conduct us in Home Affairs to see if they've applied for business visas. At the time Bushiri was doing it, the law was allowing that. In other words, there was a lacuna in the law. That lacuna has since been plugged.
So if it was permissible or permissible within the law, why did you flag it as something that raised suspicions?
Because I'm saying it's permissible in law to register a company, but it's not permissible to conduct business once that company starts working. Many South Africans have got companies registered overseas just by using a visitor's visa. That's allowed not only in South Africa. The problem is when your business starts getting active, you must then at that time register a business visa. If you don't do so, it's illegal. Now, if the DTI did not inform us or CIPD, we will never know. That's why the law was since amended to make sure that anybody who has registered a company with CIPD, once their company starts getting active, then they must inform Home Affairs so that we check about business visas. It was not like that by 2014 when Bushiri registered these companies. But we are just saying he has shown to be dishonest, because if he was a dishonest person, he will have done the correct things.
Okay, very quickly, Minister, because we are out of time. Were the Bushiris operating as business entities legally or not?
No, their business entities were illegal in that they did not register for business visas. They did not have business visas.
All right.
And that's why the Hawks went after them. The reason that the Hawks went under them is the issues of fraud, corruption, and money laundering. And it's all those things put together. That's why the Hawks rushed for them when they detected this issue.
All right, I think my point is well made there. So it's also emerged, Minister, that the Bushiri's children were taken out of the country before what is now being touted as, this great escape. My question insofar as this is concerned is twofold. Are you aware that the children did leave the country? In other words, do we have a record of the Bushiri's children being able to leave the country? And if so, did that not raise suspicions that what would follow thereafter is in fact the couple themselves being able to leave South Africa?
The Bushiri's children left the country like any other child, and they were accompanied by an adult. And at that time, we did not know, as head office of Home Affairs, we detected now on the movement control system. There was no reason for other officials to suspect anything when children accompanied by an adult are inside the plane. It occurs all the time. And with
but Minister, let's be fair, it's not just any children. It's not just, your children or my children in any circumstance. It's the children of the Bushiris, two people that you have conceded felt are a flight risk, who are facing serious charges at a time when they're out on bail. How did that not flag any concerns for the ministry?
Oh, well, yes, it will have done concerns for the ministries if the officials at the borders informed us, but they never did.
And that takes us back to the question about whether or not you think our system is broken.
No. I don't agree that it's broken. Because as I'm saying, we are using the border management, we are using the electronic movement control system. We are detecting that on the movement control system. And I'm saying any official in the normal course of event finding two children leaving the country accompanied by an adult would not have thought anything about that problem. Because at the time they left, it was before the Bushiris were given any bail.
All right, that's the time we have. Thanks very much for coming on and giving us a sense of what you know. Dr. Motsoaledi is the Home Affairs Minister. I wonder what you make of the circumstances at hand. There's certainly still a whole host of other questions to be posed.